Yeah, I was
Oh,
making
wow.
about 60,000, like about $5,000 a month. And then in the end, it just incrementally just kept growing and kept growing. We got to the point that in about 3 years, we were making about $20,000 a month with our bookkeeping business, working about 30 to 35 hours a week.
On our Internet Money segment today, we're going to interview Tiffani Higgins. Tiffani is a CPA, a mom of 5, and a former bookkeeping business owner. After 4 years of experiencing all the amazing benefits that a virtual bookkeeping business provided to her family, she decided to launch the Stay-at-Home Bookkeeper Academy, where she could teach other busy parents to follow in her footsteps and create the ideal lifestyle so that they could have their cake and eat it too. Welcome to the show, Tiffani.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's talk about this virtual bookkeeping business. Why did you want to start that originally?
Yeah, well, I have an accounting background, so it was always my desire at some point to start my own business. And it really just became something that I absolutely had to do once I had my third child. My older children were in school and they were more self-sufficient, but when I went through that whole baby stage again, it was just very apparent to me that I wasn't going to be able to work for anybody else. And so I decided to go out on a limb and start my own business.
Wow. So how did you get started? Because that's like a big jump. You're like working the corporate 9 to 5 and you're like, all right, I got to try to do this at home. Were you doing both at the same time? Tell us how you got started.
Yeah. Well, since I actually have the traditional bookkeeping and accounting background, I was working at a CPA firm and I was in charge of doing all the bookkeeping for the clients there. So I knew how long it took me. I knew what he was charging those clients. And I knew that if I shifted and did my own thing, that I would probably only need to have like 2 or 3 clients working maybe like 3 or 4 hours a week to make the same amount of money. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know anything about marketing or how to start my own business, but I knew that it was going to be something that would be possible for me. So I just decided to quit my job and just go after it.
Wow. Was that scary making that leap? Tell us about the conversations you had with your husband, your spouse at the same time and how that all went.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was probably more scary for him because he was like, oh, wait a second. No, we just have to pay everything off of my paycheck. I don't know about this. But for me, it was like I had already gone through like a decade of struggling with my older kids and fighting that battle of like, do I get to be part of their lives or do I have to work outside the house and then still barely have enough money to pay for everything that we need, let alone all the things that we want. And so I was kind of fed up. Like for me, it was like a no-brainer. And I just was ready for something different, something more. So I knew inside I wasn't going to let myself fail. The only way you can fail is if you just stop or give up. So I knew that wasn't going to happen because I needed to make something change finally in my life. And so for me, it was easier. But I did have lots of conversations with my husband, reassuring him I got this. Look, I crunched all the numbers. I showed him how profitable it could be, and he was like, well, let's give it a try. I mean, worst case scenario, I could just go get another job, right?
Yeah. So was there a period of time where you were doing the job and then this at night? And was there a transition? How did that work?
Not for me. I quit my job and then I just dove right into this. And I feel like for me, that was the best thing because I could just focus. But I do have students that have different comfort levels. So it's definitely something, you can do alongside of a full-time job and build it up and then leave that 9 to 5 whenever you feel comfortable. Or you can just dive right in and do it and go all in on yourself and on your business.
Oh, that's great. Well, talk to us about the financial side of things. When did you feel pretty confident you were making the money you needed to do? And then what kind of money were you making?
Yeah, it was actually really crazy, super unexpected. So when I quit, my plan was to kind of shift back into being a stay-at-home mom, grow this business, but my main priority was going to be taking care of my newborn, right? And so I knew, 2 or 3 clients is all I really needed. So I started doing some networking and I would bring my baby with me to like these networking meetings and meeting other business owners. And really quickly, I realized how many people need bookkeeping. Every business needs it, right? So every single person I ran into was a potential client, and most of them didn't have a bookkeeper or they weren't happy with their current bookkeeper. And so it was really easy to start building up my clientele. And so I'd get a new client one week, and the next week I get another client and then another client. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is like a full-fledged business that I could grow here. And so I started to really see the bigger picture and like where it could take us. And so I started my business in May. And by Christmas Eve, my husband retired his job, like in 7 months.
That's incredible. So you were obviously making enough to cover your old salary and his. Is that right?
Yeah. Well, at first it was like we could cover all of our basic living expenses. So, we needed to make a little bit more money to get us back where we were, but at least it was enough that we didn't have to worry about like being behind on any of our bills or losing our house or anything like that. So I knew just with the track record over the like prior like 3 or 4 months that if things kept growing at the rate that I was growing, that we would exceed our combined salary in no time. And it pretty much happened. I started working in tax season, the next tax season around, and we saved up an entire year's worth of our mortgage payment in a couple of months. So I was like, well, don't have to worry about that now. So I can just grow the business for fun and see where it takes us.
Wow, that is incredible. So just help us with roundabout numbers, though. In the beginning, maybe covering the basic expenses. This is like $30,000 a year, and then it grew from there.
It was more like around 60. Yeah, I was making about 60,000, like about $5,000 a month, and then it just incrementally just kept growing and kept growing. We got to the point that in about 3 years, we were making about $20,000 a month with our bookkeeping business, working about 30 to 35 hours a week, no staff.
That's incredible. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's very cool. So in the beginning, when you were doing like $5,000 a month, how many hours were you putting in? You said you were doing the stay-at-home mom thing as well. So that could be pretty taxing.
Yeah. Well, it depends on your goals. Like, for example, I have 5 kids now and we choose to homeschool them. And of course, we have the business. So even though you only maybe work like 30 hours a week on your business or maybe even less, you're still taking care of kids and running your household all day. So, you have to kind of be grateful for those little things, right? But it is a lot of work, just like bouncing back and forth. And when you're home all the time, you've got your kids all the time, you can't turn anything off. So you just have to be really good at learning a new skill of how to like intentionally structure your day.
Absolutely. Well, I'm thinking about those 3 things right now in my head. I'm running a business, being a parent, and homeschooling. It's like they didn't run separate tracks. They probably ran over each other. That's like the hours probably blended in, right? I mean, maybe that's the benefit of bookkeeping. Talk about what this transition of being a bookkeeper, owning your own business has done for you and your family now that it's past you and this is your life.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Like, I remember back when we first started this, my husband and I used to have talks all the time about like, where would we go on vacation? What experiences are we going to give the kids? Just random things like that. And there was always something that stopped us, whether it was like, maybe we don't have enough in savings for it, or maybe I don't have enough vacation time, or there's some kind of deadline at work, just always random things like that. Or maybe it was even the kids' school schedule. There was always something that held us back. And it wasn't until I started my business and was able to retire both of us from corporate America that we realized now we can actually do everything we've really been saying that we wanted to do. That was always really just a dream in the back of our heads. I don't think we ever thought we were going to be able to do that kind of stuff. But we actually got to do it. So like to celebrate 1 year in business, we bought a brand new van. Neither one of us had ever had like a brand new car. So we brought a brand new van and we loaded up the kids and we took a 16-day vacation across the country. And we stopped in some really cool places like in Estes Park, and we took the kids hiking, and we went to the beach and then the Grand Canyon, and then circled back around home. And that whole time I was able to keep up on my clients, keep up on my business, in the car, in the spare time when the kids were sleeping. And it was just such a huge blessing to be able to have the freedom, time freedom and flexibility to do that, but also the money to be able to pay for something like that.
I love that. We're all about owning your time on this show for sure. Well, let's talk to us about just bookkeeping in general. A lot of people could start any sort of business from their home. Mm-hmm. Why is bookkeeping a good one in your eyes?
Yeah. If you Google the most profitable businesses that you could start and operate. Forbes has an article out there, and bookkeeping and accounting is like the number one most profitable business you can do. Aside from being a lawyer, which you obviously have to go to a lot of school to do, bookkeeping and accounting, you don't necessarily have to have any kind of background to do that. You just have to learn the skills. So it's a really great option and a super profitable one, flexible and in very high demand. That's one of the reasons. The other reason I love it, especially for people that have kids, is that it's super flexible on completing the actual work. You can do it at 3 o'clock in the morning. When I had twins, I used to work at 3 a.m. while one of the twins wouldn't sleep. They would never sleep from like 3 to 5. So I would just sit with them on my lap and do my work then. And especially for moms that have like kids in the background, it's loud. Most of the business owners are okay to talk at whatever time you have available. Weekends, evenings, it doesn't really matter. So it's incredibly flexible for moms, especially.
I love that. I was just gonna say I'm highly impressed by the lack of noise right now that we're having during an interview with 5 kids. So, and
well, 4 of them are right there. So.
Well, they're doing a great job, but it's okay if it happens. This is a family show, so it's all good. So let's talk about generally. You shared some numbers with us. That was very helpful. Thank you. When you started off, you were making around $5,000 a month, which is fantastic, and now you've grown it to $20,000 a month. Talk to us about what can the typical person make? I think you sound like a go-getter, Tiffani. Let's talk about just your every average day, Tiffani. What can somebody make if they say, "Hey, I'm going to go for this and put some time to it"? And I'm a parent like you. What do you think?
Yeah. Absolutely. I love it because in our academy, we kind of have 2 different types of people in there. One type is people that are like super excited. They see the business opportunity and they really want to see how far they can get it. So they're working on building a 7-figure bookkeeping firm right now. But then we have other people in there that their main focus right now is to raise their kids and be a present parent, be available to them, stuff like that. So they don't want to work 40 or whatever hours per week. So a lot of them, they get really comfortable with working about 3 to 6 hours a week, sometimes 10 hours a week. And they can make, anywhere from like $4,000 to $6,000 a month in that range. So it can be a really nice supplement to their income or cover all of their expenses, but keeping their workload very, very minimal. So we kind of have 2 different tracks of people that join our program for those reasons.
I think that's fantastic. One thing that people say when they're thinking of starting their own business. Yeah, that sounds good, but I'm not really that good of a salesperson. I don't really want to go out there and get clients, or I'm nervous about that. Talk to us about that hesitation that people might have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, being afraid to like market yourself, as they say, that's probably the biggest fear that most of our students face. But what we always love to tell people, and another reason why bookkeeping is such a great option for people, is that you don't really have to sell anything. It's not like selling a product or convincing somebody that they need to use this or they need to do things this way. Everyone needs a bookkeeper if you have a business. And so it's really about just finding and connecting with the people that you mesh with, that you want to work with, and letting them know, hey, I do bookkeeping. I can help you with this. I'm here and available if you need me. And so really that's all I've had to do growing my bookkeeping business. And what most of my students have to do is just connecting with people, meeting people, and then just letting them know what you do so that they can reach out to you when they need your help.
That's awesome. What about the person who's listening right now and they're saying, bookkeeping, that sounds great, but I don't really have an accounting background. I don't have those sort of credentials. What would you say to that person?
Yeah. Most people, I'd say about 90 to 95% of the people in our academy have had no prior experience. Bookkeeping is something that can be learned very easily. And I always tell my students too, like I have an accounting degree, I have a CPA, but when I started my business, that's what I learned. Like I learned so much on the job, and what they teach you in actual school is more along the lines of being a corporate accountant employee. So it's not really technical skills that you would need to have your own bookkeeping business. So I learned everything really like on the job, like doing it myself and figuring out what business owners needed. So I've bundled that all up into much easier to digest information than going to a 4-year college and getting an accounting degree, whereas so much of that you're not even going to use. So it's definitely something you can learn quick. We also help students with their first client. We do unlimited personalized one-on-one Zoom calls when they get their first client and help walk them through the whole process. And when you do that one time, it kind of solidifies in what, each subsequent client is going to be like. Usually by the time you have your fourth or fifth client, you feel like, I've got this. I'm awesome at this. I can scale this.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, tell us about the course, and at the end, I'll tell people where to get it, so they can link back to the show here. Tell us where and what it's all about. The course you provide.
Yeah, so we have a DIY bookkeeping course out there, but we also have our program is called the Bookkeeper Academy, and the Bookkeeper Academy has all the coursework, but what it really has is one-on-one support, group support. We basically hold your hand for an entire year as you grow your business, and a lot of our students have then also, in addition to growing awesome businesses, they've come back and now they also coach in there. And so it's just this huge collective, mostly moms, not all moms, but a huge collective of these ladies all working together and helping each other grow businesses.
Excellent. Well, everybody, if you want to check out Tiffany's course, go to marriagekidsandmoney.com/bookkeeping. That's marriagekidsandmoney.com/bookkeeping. That link will take you directly to Tiffany's course, and you guys can check it out, learn a little bit more about it. Tiffany, thank you so much for your time today, and congratulations on building a life that you're really proud of and getting that time freedom. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for allowing me to share it with your audience.